So next thing I'm going to do to this car is replace the bushings for the door hinges. I'm going to try to get a view of the bushings. It's kind of, kind of hard to do. Hard to see them, but there they are. I'll zoom in some more. And the problem with these is you can't get them out because the door skin and the fender skin are in the way. So you have to take the door off. I'm going to set the camera up on the other side of the car, focused in on where the hinge pins mount. But before I do that, I guess I should show you my support I rigged up for my door when I take those hinges out. It's basically it's a drywall lift hoist, and I made out of iron pipe a frame that my door can sit in. And this is a pad that I can have the door here rest on. So that I may have a problem here. I may have to modify the other end of the support. I might have to take this piece off because this has to go in further so that there is support under the edge of the door. So yeah, I'm going to have to take that off. It was a bit too long anyways. I've got excess space over here, but I need that one on the other end off so I can push it further under. So I've got the camera on the other side of the car, and I'm going to zoom in on the plate that you have to take off that covers the bolts to the hinge. If I can find the darn thing. There it is right there. It's held on with two screws, 8mm socket required to take them off. And then the hinges are held on with 9/16 head on the bolt is 9/16. So I'm going to take the top hinge off first. It's really hard to get the camera angle in here. I'm just going to leave, oh, it's not going to hold. I thought it would dangle there. I can't even see these from where I'm standing. That'd be fun trying to put them back in. So all four of the tops are out. I'm going to go over and refocus on the bottoms. Hopefully you can see them from the other side. It looks like you can. Okay, there's a cable in the way, but there's a hole in the door over there, right there. And that's where the other 4 bolts that hold it on are. Right here. See if I can get this out of the way. So I'm going to go after the hard one to get to first. There's one that's I had it on the nut there, but I couldn't swing the wrench. There it is. Now I have my windshield or my power window motor out of here, and having it out might be a help because I will be able to pull the wires through. There's a little rubber connector here that allows the wires for the power windows to go from the door jamb to the door. And without it connected, it would be harder to pull the door off of those wires. With it disconnected, I should be able to just pull the door and the wire should go through that, and then when I put the door back on, I should be able to just grab the wire and pull it. I felt the door move there a little bit, so might be a problem lining it back up when I'm done. But that should allow me to get the door off of the hinges. Crank the door up just a bit, because it dropped a little bit when I took the last bolts out. Top one's pretty loose. Bottom one, I see what's happening. In spite of the fact that the wires are loose in here, this connector is actually connected to both the door and the door jamb. So I've pulled that out. Is not as sturdy as I like it. better option. Okay, that took me a while to get that door off of there. It was heavy. So you really couldn't see any of that struggle. So now we're looking at the top hinge. There's a pin here and two bushings. There's a lot of slop in them because the bushings have failed. So I'm going to have to get a hammer, knock that pin out, and hopefully it will clear the fender up here. Maybe I should aim that. I'll back it up a little bit. Hopefully it'll clear that fender. If not, then your only choice is to grind a flat spot on the head of it. The reason you wouldn't take the hinge off completely is you've got to go through the inside here. I could probably get to it because my dash is out. Appear to be 4 bolts. So I could probably get to it because my dash is out, but not everybody is going to have that option because most people, when you're doing a hinge pin or the bushings, you don't have the dash out. So I've got my dead blow hammer. I've got a couple of things I can try prying at it. Screwdriver and that's not liking the dead blow hammer. There is no retainer on the bottom. So I'm going to try a heavier hammer. Okay, here we go with the heavier hammer. Coming up a little bit. Try driving it up with a screwdriver now. Now that one came out. That is not a guarantee that the new one will go in. But in prying that, chipped a little bit of the head. So if I have to grind it, that's where I'll do it. Okay. You can't put this on backwards because it would be upside down. I guess you could, but it wouldn't line up then. This is interesting because, I guess that makes sense. The top bushing goes in top down, bottom bushing goes in bottom up. And the reason that sounds strange is you'd think this would fall out, but well, that's pretty worn. You would think that would fall out, but once you get this piece on it, this holds the bottom bushing up. So I have new bushings here. Whoa, don't lose that. The top goes in from the top down. Bottom from the bottom up. Now these, I'm going to use the dead blow on. Okay, that is staying in there. Can't even get a straight shot at it with the dead blow. Try this. That's going in, but I'm afraid the bottom is gonna hit. Well, it's not that far down yet. You know what, maybe I can do it this way. And then that won't be. Those appear to be pushed in pretty well. You can tell already that's going to take the play out of this. Hard to tell if that's lined up because I think I am going to have to grind that one edge down because it won't quite clear. Now I have heard, and this is up to you, I'm not going to do it. Some people I've heard put them in from the bottom, drill a hole in this and put a pin in at the top. But I'm going to go top down. I'm going to go grind the edge off of this, right where I took that nick out of it, and try again. Okay, there's the part I took off. Just hit it with my grinding wheel. I might need to take a little bit more off of that. Going to take a little more off of that so as to not nick the paint. Okay, while I was over there taking some more off of that head, I also ran a wire wheel on this and put some oil on it to prevent rust and to hopefully make it slip in a little better. It looks like it's clearing the fender, but it's close and I need to tap it. Okay. That appears to be started into the bushing. Okay, I can feel it coming through the bottom now. That is way tighter than it was. And the pin is not all the way in yet. I'm hitting the fender. Let me get a brass drift and hit that instead. I really don't know how well the brass drift is going to protect the fender because the fender is not as durable as the brass drift. But it is allowing me to get a better swing at the driving the pin. Okay, that's in. Bottom one. More of the same. Try the brass drift there. It's like a knurled shaft on there, so that what happens is once you get it in, it won't turn. It allows the hinge to turn on the bushing. Out of the bottom hole, and that brass bushing is pretty much disintegrated. I need something better to pry this out with, or maybe grip it with vice grips or channel locks or something. There it comes. Some of that brass from the old bushing is just kind of mashed into the hole. On that bottom one. think gripping that with maybe a pair of channel locks will help it come out. Let's see how this works. It's rotating, but it's not coming out vertically. Well, that just caused the rim to come off. Well, it's brass, it'll... There. It's coming out in pieces, but it is in fact coming out. There it is. And I'm gonna have to knock the last bits of the bottom out. So these guys don't really go in all that easily into the hinge, but they've got to go in. Okay, I'm going to do something different this time. Take my clamp, my quick grip, put one end of it on the bottom one and one end on the top, and just squeeze. Pretty good. So, this one doesn't need to have an edge trimmed off of it because there's nothing in the way. But I am going to take it over to the wire wheel and clean all this stuff off of it that's going to make it difficult to slide through those bushings, and then I'm going to oil it up. Okay, we have that cleaned up and oiled up. I would like that to go a little bit further, but it is all the way through. Don't want to bend the frame of the door mount. So that is both of the hinges rebushed. So after a lot of struggling to get the door in position, mainly because my design on my hoist, I didn't have the pipes tight enough, number one, and they screwed in further, unscrewed further, whatever. So it made it not very good to hold it. And then I inadvertently had placed the part that it needed to raise underneath the lever on it, and it would only raise so far. So after struggling with it for a long time, I came up with the bright idea that instead of trying to raise the door, I should lower the car on the lift. So that got me one screw in the top hinge, starting the second. Got two started, but the door is too low. That I can tell. Now, I want to tighten those enough that they're not going to allow the door to fall, but not so tight that I can't move it. So okay, I'm about 1/4 of an inch too low on that hinge for certain. So I'm gonna have to lift that up. I may have tightened one of those too tight. And none of the hinges on the bottom are lined up yet. They're the old holes. See if I can raise that some. There you go. That looks pretty good alignment on the top, on the bottom. Not even seeing the bolts. So I'm going to tighten one of the top ones pretty tight. I'm going to have to, since the bottom one is not even, the holes aren't even visible, I'm going to lower the thing I've got holding the door if I can. Let's see, oops, now I see some holes too, I see 4. I see at least 2. Make sure they're the correct 2. Yeah, they are. In other words, I was making sure I didn't have the back 2 screw bolts on the hinge aligned with the front 2 on the door. That wouldn't have been good. Okay, so there's a bolt started there. Bolt started there. I'm at the point where I can get them all started now. Okay, I'm pretty sure you didn't see the bottom bolts going in because I have the camera zoomed in on the top, so sorry about that. But I've got 3 started in the top now. Fourth one. Looks like maybe it can go up just a little bit. Okay, I've got 4 started in the top. So let me tell you something, that door is heavy. You really should have 2 people if you're trying to manhandle it. I was trying to do this myself and then things didn't go well. Whooped. But like I always say with my channel, you see the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it doesn't always go well. So that's the 3rd bolt in on the bottom. And I am trying to, you know, there's marks where the bolts were. That's what I'm using to align it. And theoretically, if I get close to those marks, it should shut fine and open and all that good stuff. Okay. All 4 of the bolts are in, top and bottom. None of them are really tight. I'm going to try to raise this up just a little bit. If I can't raise the hoist, then I think I'll lower the car, which is how I got it lined up, because I could not get it lined up. Before. I'm trying to get the little tube that's got the wires for the power windows seated. That might be a chore to get in there. try to get me a 2x4 under that door on the metal part of it. Pry it up. I just need maybe an 1/8 of an inch. It's not much at all, but I'd like it to be closer to where it was than it is right at the current moment. Ah, yeah, that'll work. You know what? If I tighten down the one, then I can tip the back of the door up to bring the top one into alignment. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good, I think. Now, to get this out of my way, the easiest thing is going to be to just raise the car a bit. Okay, I'm going to close this door slowly. Could go up in the back a little bit. But now that I have it on, I can play with the adjustment. You have to loosen those all and then jack this up a bit in the back. Okay, I think I left the camera running. I might as well show you how I screwed up on the hoist. So here's how I had the hoist set up, and this is where I got screwed up. This, as I started to jack it, came up under this, and it wouldn't go any further. I should have had this rotated around to the other side where that wasn't in the way. And then I would have not had to struggle as much. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some padding under that, and I'm going to use this end of the jack to just lift the back end of the door up a little bit as I loosen those bolts and try to get a better alignment on the door. It's close, but I'd like it to be a little better. So I should be able to jack that up now with this hoist. And when it's not bumping into the lever over here, it actually goes, well, hold on, now I'm caught on something else. See if I can get past that. If not, I'll have to move it one more. Okay, I'm past it. Okay, I'm going to go loosen those bolts. Now jack this end up and should be able to get it perfect. Okay, so what I did is I tightened the bottom one closest to the door jamb, closest to this end of the door, and then I lifted the back end, and that pulled the top bolts into alignment, and they will not go any further, and if that's not good, there's nothing I can do about it. Oh yeah, that looks really good. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit better on what I'm doing. You're not going to see inside the bolts holes while I'm tightening it, but well, let's see if we can go there right now. See, those look pretty good. And, whoops, my tripod is a little bit worn and it doesn't latch, so the bottom ones, see, this one way down in here is the one I tightened first. And then I brought the top into alignment. So I'm gonna go tighten the rest of those. Do this and stay out of the way of the camera as much as I can. And my last one should have already been tightened, but we'll give it another go. Okay, that should be good. I'm going to take the hoist out of the way, the drywall hoist, and see what we got. Take quarters here. Yeah, that's better than it was. There's the back line. It was just a little bit down from the line of the car, up in that area there. Now it's right on the money. Front gap looks good. So we're done with that job. It was a rough one. All that remains to be done is to finish popping that little grommet in for the power window wires, and then put the cover on the upper bolt access hole. Been working on this for a little bit. It's almost in there, but I'd like it to be in just a wee bit more. Probably about as good as it's gonna get. We're talking about 40-year-old rubber here, 44, 46-year-old rubber. It's a bit hardened. Sure, if it was newer, it would have been in there already. Okay. That and the access cover. Okay. With that, I'm going to call it a day. Next time I will put the power window motor in and test it.